During the Qing dynasty, conflicts broke out all over China, sparking extremely insane battles for control of the empire. Among the divine troops, a young wushu master called Yang Luchan fights against the emperor's forces and for freedom. Realizing the revolutionary's abilities, the empire sends in the cavalry, and the master at arms of the divine troops decides to awaken Luchan's hidden power by sending one of his messengers to attack the mole on the boy's forehead. Immediately after the impact, Yang stands up possessed by Biju and starts attacking everyone around him like there's no tomorrow, eliminating countless imperial soldiers until he collapses from exhaustion. Now out of combat, he is taken to the tents where Master Dong begins his medical treatment. While performing the procedures, the healer warns Lu Chan that if he continues to use his hidden powers, it won't be long before he loses his life. According to Dong, the mole on Lu Chan's forehead is known as the 3 flowers on the crown, a super powerful technique that even the greatest masters have difficulty achieving, but which for some reason was born with the boy. Despite this, Lu Chan can't master it perfectly, and as a result, his body becomes more and more exhausted, which unbalances his internal energy and brings him closer to elimination. According to Dong, he must stop relying solely on brute force and learn the Chen style, which is able to alter the body's energy channels and keep his ward stable, preventing it from darkening and leading to Yang's perishment. Just then, Lu Chan's master appears and tries to knock the medicine out of Dong's hands while ordering him to stop talking nonsense to his disciple. But the doctor is also a great martial arts expert, and the two begin to fight. Mastering the Chen style, Dong proves to be far superior to the weapons master and manages to roll him out of the tent with one kick, defeating the other master in just 3 moves. Impressed by what he saw, Lu Chan spends the night thinking about the doctor's words when suddenly, the Imperials begin a surprise attack on the camp, catching everyone off guard. In the middle of the confusion, Yang runs outside and sees Master Dong being hit by 2 arrows in the chest. On the verge of elimination, the healer orders Lu Chan to go to Chen village and find Master Chongqing, the only one allowed to teach the village style. Unarmed and at a disadvantage, Yang flees the burning camp and begins an arduous journey to the Chen village, climbing a kilometer-long mountain with only his hands. After a lot of effort, Lu Chan finally sees the village on the horizon and starts running around looking for the master. But the locals refuse to answer, claiming that outsiders can't learn the Chen style. While asking people in the village, Lu Chan is involved in an accident and ends up being run over by a prototype car driven by Yu Nian. Concerned, the girl gets out of the car to see if he's all right and asks the stranger to visit her if he feels any pain, then leaves. But as she's walking back to the car, a shopkeeper asks about Master Chongqing and the woman lets slip that he's her father. Later, in Chen Hall, Yu Niang goes to her fiancé Fang, who has spent the last few years studying engineering in the West and now wants to bring new developments to the village, such as electricity and a railway line. After a brief conversation with her fiancé, Yu Niang realizes that the elders have arrived and begins the meeting, in which Fang presents a model of the railroad, saying that Chen village will have its own station and will receive spices every week, as well as allowing them to travel to Beijing in half the time. Resistant to foreign inventions, the elders ask about the buildings that will need to be demolished, and Fang says he can't answer that question yet. Changing the subject, the man decides to show the power of Western technology and blows out all the candles in the hall by lighting countless lamps with electricity. But because of an oscillation, the place ends up having a voltage spike and the lamps explode, making everyone run away in fear. Saddened by the disaster of the performance, Fang sits on the steps and is accompanied by Yu Niang, who tries to keep his spirits up, but even with his fiancé's support, he feels like a complete failure and says he'll never be a good husband. The next morning, Yu Niang opens her tea store and starts work when she is visited by Lu Chan. Thinking it's because of the accident, the woman asks if he's all right and offers him some money for treatment, but he replies that he didn't come for anything and asks her to introduce him to her father. Like the others, Yu Niang says that the Chen style cannot be taught to outsiders and asks him to leave. Refusing to do so, Lu Chan says that he will only leave after meeting Chongqing, and the girl decides to deceive him by saying that her father is on a retreat in the mountains, imagining that she will have some peace while the young man spends days searching the mountains. But with his tireless determination, Yang returns extremely quickly and begins to fight Yu Niang for deceiving him. Despite being extremely skilled, Lu Chan is unable to touch his opponent, who immediately paralyzes his body by manipulating his energy channels and throwing him off the balcony. A few hours later, Lu Chan wakes up hanging upside down and comes across a carpenter who advises him to copy the techniques of the other villagers, saying that this way he will be able to learn the Chen style without depending on a master. At the post office, Yu Niang decides to write a letter to her fiancé asking him not to give up the railroad, as well as suggesting that they go ahead with the wedding. But just as she is finishing, she is surprised by Lu Chan, who asks her to learn Chen style again. Obviously, Yu Niang refuses to give him any information and starts to fight him, using moves like the double punch and the cross lotus to finish off the outsider, expelling him from the village and condemning him to become the villagers' punching bag if he ever sets foot there again. In the governor's office, Fang tells them about his failure in Chen village and reveals that the East India Company has sent a foreign consultant to help them. At that moment, Claire appears accompanied by English soldiers and reveals that she will use all the power acquired in the Industrial Revolution to succeed in the mission, using a tank-like machine to ensure that the railroad is put in place. In Chen village, Lu Chan is very thoughtful and has the idea of sneaking into the village covered in a pile of straw, but he is soon noticed and kicked out by Uncle Chin, one of the village elders. Although old, the man is a great master of the Chen style and manages to defeat Yang with a single headbutt, knocking him out of town. The next morning, Lu Chan decides to try to enter the market and is confronted by little Zhao Di. When she is ignored, she kicks a stone at the intruder's knee and jumps on his shoulders, spinning him around several times and kicking him in the face, defeating him for the second time. Day after day, he keeps trying to invade the village in different ways and is defeated every time, but with each battle, he manages to learn something new and slowly makes his way towards becoming a master of the Chen style. After seeing him beaten so many times, the carpenter goes to visit him outside the village and says it's time to imitate his next opponent's moves, beating him with Chen's own style. In the afternoon, Lu Chan returns to town and faces his last opponent, a vendor who says that if he can knock over the tofu in his hands, he will be considered the winner and accepted to stay in the village. Thinking it was going to be easy, Yang decided to be more offensive and attack the merchant without hesitation, but he already started the fight by getting hit. As he lies on the ground, he remembers what the carpenter said and decides to put it into practice, calming down and waiting for the enemy's attack so he can copy it. This way, the battle is much more even and Lu Chan lands a kick on the merchant's hands, forcing him to hold the tofu with his other arm and kick the enemy away. At that moment, Yang feels someone pushing his back and he falls on top of the vendor who didn't see it coming, finally dropping the tofu on the ground. Since he got help, Lu Chan tries to say that it wasn't fair and asks for a rematch, but since no one else saw what happened, everyone agrees that he is the winner. From the balcony, Yu Niang waits for the fight to end and goes to confront the carpenter for helping him with the push. But the discussion is soon interrupted by tremors in the ground caused by number 1, the machine responsible for putting the railroad in place. As the people approach, Fang gets out of the vehicle and tells them that they have 7 days to demolish the houses that are in the middle of the planned route, claiming that at the end of that time, number 1 will come in forcefully and demolish all the houses in the village. When they see Fang, the people think it's some kind of joke and say they're not afraid of him, but when Claire activates the mechanism that puts the machine's arms out, everyone runs in fear as it destroys the first buildings in the village. Standing in front of her fiancé, Yu Niang asks why he is attacking her home village and orders him to get off the machine, but instead of doing so, Fang just goes back inside and leaves her talking to herself. Desperate, the population holds an emergency meeting to decide what to do, but as Chang Xing is out of the village, none of the elders have the courage to make a decision, forcing Yu Niang to act on her own. While the girl is working out a strategy, Lu Chan wakes up in the house of the carpenter who tells him about the attack by number 1, leaving the young man elated to defend Chen's style. However, the worker won't allow him to leave and suggests that they should steal a uniform, thus managing to infiltrate the machine and find a way to destroy it from the inside out. In the Imperial camp, Fang goes to visit Claire and notices that she is packing her bags to leave. Desperate, he begs her not to leave and tells her that he has always loved her, as well as saying that he needs her help to continue the mission and finally have enough money for her parents to accept him as their son-in-law. From the top of the tent, Yu Niang watches the two kiss and jumps in front of them, showing that she has seen the whole scene. Taking advantage of the tense atmosphere, she picks up the number 1 manual unnoticed and takes it to the notary public, ordering him to translate it from English into Mandarin. In the carpenter's house, Lu Chan shows the drawings he was able to make of the internal mechanism. With this, they manage to locate the central steering wheel and decide to attack it, but as the place is well guarded, Yang has to sneak upstairs and go down the stairs that lead to the lower level, where the engine room is located. Following this path, he knocks out the last guard and reaches the central wheel, where he must break the gears with an iron rod, but something goes wrong and the mechanism continues to function normally, causing Yang to be surrounded by soldiers. Thanks to his agility, Lu Chan manages to knock out most of the guards and knocks over a lamp that starts a fire inside Troy. Thinking that there are no more guards, he ends up being surprised by a gigantic soldier who strikes him in the neck and tries to burn his face in the steam of the machine. But when he tries to fight back, Liu Chan is unable to do any damage and decides to resort to a wrench. Even using the tool as a weapon, Yang is unable to hurt the enemy, but just as he is about to be eliminated, Yu Niang appears and throws a dagger that hits one of the exhaust pipes, causing a large amount of steam to burn the soldier's face, who falls headfirst into the coals, fainting instantly. Seeing Liu Chan, the girl shows them how to destroy Troy and they start looking for the right mechanism, finding it in the passage to the upper level. But while they are unlocking the door that blocks the gear, one of the guards wakes up and activates the emergency alarm, drawing Fang and Claire's attention. Inside, Yu Niang says she's going to destroy the steel monster and Fang replies that if she does, she'll be considered an enemy of China and hunted down for the rest of her life. However, this isn't enough to make her back down and the girl quickly sticks the iron rod into the gear, causing Troy number 1 to start shaking. With the mechanism about to explode, the two couples run to the side and manage to jump out at the last second. But Claire is seriously injured by shrapnel and perishes in the arms of Fang, who vows revenge. On the other side, Liu Chan rushes into the Chen Hall and tells everyone that he has succeeded in destroying Troy number 1, making everyone consider him a hero. But as he doesn't want any title, Yang just asks them to start their training and the carpenter appears in the crowd, revealing himself to be the famous master Chang Xing. Even surprised by the discovery, Liu Chan asks if they can start the training and he immediately replies no, because as Yu Niang was seen sabotaging the machine and they eliminated a foreign consultant, now the whole village will be blamed for the act and punished by the imperial army. Knowing that it won't be long before the troops arrive, Chang Xing orders them to hide the children and everyone prepares for battle, except Liu Chan, who can no longer fight thanks to his ward, which is completely black. Following Chang Xing's instructions, everyone in the village prepares to ward off the enemy in 4 different stages. The first of these is to slow down the royal army with toxic smoke throughout the village, causing the soldiers affected to suffer from disorientation and hallucinations in a matter of minutes. While the men advance through the fog, the villagers begin the second stage, which consists of attacking the Imperials with fruit and vegetables, throwing whole watermelons in their direction. Not satisfied, Yu Niang mounts a giant slingshot and fires 3 Asian pumpkins that explode in the soldiers' faces, completely breaking the formation. With their vegetables, the people of the village manage to knock out a good part of the army, causing the platoon leader to order them to start shooting unarmed civilians, which interrupts Master Chang Xing's plans. When the citizens take cover, Fang tells them that they have committed a crime against the empire and orders them to hand over Yu Niang and Liu Chan immediately. Furious at the betrayal, Master Chang Xing's daughter comes out of hiding and asks him if he will have the courage to use Western weapons against his own people. But the imperial soldiers have no time to lose and advance on her, forcing Liu Chan to come out of hiding and enter the battle, this time using the Chen style to perfection. Realizing that they are still resisting, the platoon leader takes the rifle from one of the soldiers and fires at Yu Niang, forcing Liu Chan to jump in front to protect her. Seeing this, Chang Xing finally decides to enter the fray and fights with all his might, parrying spear blows with his hands and using their handles to knock the men out before they can reload their weapons. Even unarmed, the Chen-style master manages to immobilize all the imperial soldiers and jumps over a wooden structure to reach the squad leader, knocking him down with a kick. With only Fang left standing, Chang Xing jumps on his horse and throws him away, causing him to smash his face on the rocks while the citizens send the other soldiers running. With that, they finally get rid of the Imperials and start treating Liu Chan, but one of the elders sees him using the Chen style and arranges an emergency trial. Obviously, Chang Xing is accused of having taught him and defends himself by saying that Yang spent several days in the village, which allowed him to learn the moves while fighting with the locals. Even so, the old man still thinks it's wrong and accuses Liu Chan of having stolen his kung fu, suggesting the punishment of cutting his tendons and breaking his bones so that he can never fight again. Outraged, Yu Niang argues that he risked his life to save the village, and the elders adamantly stand by their decision, leaving her with no option but to ask her father's permission to marry him. In this way, Liu Chan becomes a member of the village and has every right to learn the Chen style, which cancels out his punishment. With that settled, Yu Niang spends the next few weeks tending to her future fiancé's wounds until the wedding day arrives. But while everyone in the village is celebrating, both Fang and the British Navy are approaching over the horizon, willing to do anything to avenge Claire's elimination. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below.